Hello everyone, this is Colleen Lemma, Starseed Astrologer and Spiritual Messenger from SacredSoulEmpowerment.com, here to do your monthly intuitive reading for June 2021. Can you believe that we are now at the halfway point of 2021? I certainly can't. So for this month's monthly reading, we're going to be using the Syrian Starseed Tarot by Patricia Corey and Alyssa Bartha for the main message for everyone. We also have a special message card for everyone from my wonderful astrology deck. And then your special message card, depending on your stone of choice this month, is going to be coming from the Wisdom of the Oracle deck. So let's go ahead and start by taking a look at your stones of choice. There's a lot to cover this month. Okay, so our first stone of choice is this beautiful blue scheelite. This happens to be in the form of what looks like a heart, pretty close to it. And the blue scheelite, the properties of that, it's also known, by the way, as lapis lace onyx. Isn't that beautiful? Lapis lace onyx and blue scheelite. This helps to facilitate shamanic and astral travel. It expands our psychic visions and our psychic capabilities, helps to speed up our growth and evolution as a soul, and it gives us the power to revolutionize energies within our life. Your second stone of choice is apophyllite. Now I know this looks like a clear quartz crystal cluster, but it is in fact a piece of apophyllite, and you can tell that by the fact that instead of points, it's got flat bottoms here on the kind of the things that kind of stick up here from the crystal. So the flat bottoms tell us that this is a clear piece of apophyllite. Apophyllite comes in different colors. This one happens to be clear apophyllite. This helps with high vibrational energies to soothe anxiety, fear, and worry. So those higher vibrational energies help to dissipate and soothe the anxiety, fears, and worries in our life. This is also a great stone to assist with astral travel as well as deep insight, having deeper insights. It helps us to connect to higher planes of energy, as well as our higher purpose. And then our last stone of choice is septarian. This helps to provide us with a protective shield around our physical, emotional, and mental bodies. This one also instills feelings of positivity and joy, which I'm sure we all need right now, right, in the world. It's also known as the dragon stone, and it helps us to tap into past lives, produce visions for ourselves, and it also helps to enhance communication within situations in our lives. So again, our stones of choice are the blue scheelite, the clear apophyllite, and then the septarian stone. This is what it looks like on the back of that one. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about, let me put that aside, talk about the energy vibration of the month of June. So in the month of May, just to kind of recap here for a minute, the energetic vibration, the monthly numerological vibration of May was the number 10, which vibrated to the Wheel of Fortune, telling us that there was a shift of energies at play. There was a shift into, you could almost call it new beginnings of some, on some level, and also a shift of the karmic wheel, so to speak, from leaving some sort of past energies behind and starting to step into some new energies. We also, which is why I want to mention May as well, is because we had a full moon lunar eclipse in May. And this month, June, we're going to have a new moon solar eclipse. So that full moon lunar eclipse that we had was about a completion of a cycle, completions, endings, letting go of something. And this could have been about a completion, an ending of a way of thinking, a way of experiencing, a way of believing about something, or a way of operating in your life, as well as perhaps the beginning of a completion of situations in our life. And I say the beginning of because as we now approach this new moon solar eclipse in the month of June that we're going to talk about here, which initiates the new beginnings, because it's a set of eclipses, these endings and new beginnings aren't just in that week in May where we had that lunar eclipse, or that week in June where we have the solar eclipse. This is going to be the initiation of some endings and new beginnings, or some completions and initiations in our life that we'll see for some weeks and or months to come. So we start out, let's kind of backtrack here and start out with the number vibration of this month of June. Numerologically, if May was a 10, then June is an 11, and we get that from taking the universal year vibration for 2021. When you add up 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 1, we get a 5. We know that this year of 2021 is full of change and redirection and a sense of freedom, us wanting our freedom or wanting to break free of things, energies, situations that are confining to us, that are holding us back in some way, shape, or form. That's what the number 5 is all about. So we take that universal year vibration, we add it to the month in question. Again, May was the 5th month. That's where we got the 10 for the 1 vibration for May of new beginnings, and the Wheel of Fortune, which is the 10th Major Arcana. June is the 6th month of the year. So we take that 5 universal year energy of 2021, we add 6 to it. And so now we have the 11, which is a master number. So it's a big deal. And I'm talking about May a little bit because I feel like this 2-month period of time, because of the eclipses especially, is a very important time period for us within this year of 2021. So numerologically, master number 11 is the number of the light worker. It's the number of the visionary. It's the number of the leader. And it's also the number of enhanced and greater psychic abilities and capabilities, as well as our healing energies, our ability to bring healing in some way, shape, or form on the planet. Again, it's a wonderful energy for being that visionary leader, okay? Again, it's like coming into or opening the door to your light worker abilities, or an increase in your purpose as a light worker. Now, if we take that master number 11 and we reduce it down, as we often do in numerology, we want to add the 1 plus the 1, and that equals a 2. So we also know that the month of June has a 2 vibration energy. That 2 vibration is about balance and harmony and equality and compromise. And a big thing that the number 2 is about relationships and partnerships. So I have a feeling that all forms of relationship, romantic, family, friendship, even our business relationships, are going to be highlighted in some way, shape, or form in this month of June. And if we look at it from, again, the perspective that it's master number 11 first, we want to take those relationships to a higher level if possible. We want both individuals within whatever type of relationship this is to step up into their higher spiritual understanding, to step into their higher spiritual capabilities, and to operate within that relationship from that higher spiritual level of that master number 11. Now, the 11th Major Arcana in the tarot is the Justice card. And this is what it looks like in the Syrian Starseed Tarot. It's called Divine Justice in this particular deck. And we see this woman who's blindfolded holding the scales of justice. Now, she can't see with her physical eyes, so she has to be able to see with her spiritual eyes, with her intuitive eyes, okay? So she has to use her third eye capabilities, which is part of that master number 11, being clairvoyant, clairaudient, etc., all of those fine-tuned or intensified psychic abilities. Now, she's within this kind of what do I want to call a portal, you know? She's kind of within this portal of energy in the universe in this particular deck. And so we know that whatever's happening in the month of June is on a higher spiritual level. There's a portal of energy opening, and that's part of the eclipses, right? It's part of this new moon solar eclipse that we're going to have on June 10th. That's going to open up this portal of energy to new beginnings and new possibilities and new opportunities. But first, this karmic scales of justice have to be balanced, which is part of that full moon lunar eclipse that we had in May. So we're intertwining these endings and new beginnings. We're intertwining the completion of a phase of life within ourselves personally or on a collective level, and we're getting ready to initiate some new energies, some new ideas, some new circumstances. Now, I like this particular card because it shows that the scales of justice are already kind of balanced. They're not out of balance. Now, so that could mean that a lot of us have already done some purging, releasing, letting go, and rebalancing those karmic scales in our life. Now, some of the other of us, and again, this might continue for quite some time, where we're in this energetic phase, and whether we're consciously releasing and letting go, or whether this is going to be the universe or spirit stepping in, so to speak, and assisting us with the karmic releasing and letting go, and then realignment of our energies within our life. Either way, I feel like there's still a continuation, but I feel like maybe it's not going to be as tough or challenging as we think it is. Now, everybody is an individual, everybody has free will, everybody's different, everybody's in a different place on their path or on their awakening and their evolution and growth. No judgment there. Some of us are here to assist other people. We're all assisting one another. We're all supporting one another. We're all hopefully loving and respecting each other on our journey. But this is part of that vibration numerologically for this month of June. So let's talk a little bit about the astrological highlights for the month of June. On the 2nd of June, we have Venus moving into Cancer. Now, Venus is the planet of love and harmony and beauty. She rules partnerships, relationships. She rules finances, personal resources. She's just coming out of Gemini on the 2nd day of the month of June. And, Gemini is the sign of the twins. It's a logical sign. So while she was there, she was more thought-provoking. She was more curious. She was more in a place of trying to analyze things and understand things on a mental level, from a mental perspective. Now she's going to be moving into Cancer, and she's there for a good portion of this month. She's not there for the entire month of June. But Venus being about love and beauty and, sensuality and relationships, even partnerships, as she moves into Cancer, Cancer is a very feeling-oriented sign. Cancer is sensitive, and it's about our emotions. It's about home and family. And by the way, Mars is still at this point in Cancer too, and Mars is her counterpart, right? Mars is that masculine energy, and Venus is that feminine energy. They're known as the lovers. Now they're both for a few days in that sign of Cancer, which for one thing, I feel like is going to increase our ability to emotionally connect to other people, or have more compassion or a deep-seated love for one another, or perhaps forgiveness one another, understanding for one another. But also, because Cancer rules home and family, I feel like this is going to highlight for the first few days of June energy, situations, and circumstance around home and family matters. The next big thing that happens is that new moon solar eclipse on June 10th, and that is in Gemini. It's at 19 degrees Gemini. So both the sun and the moon are at 19 degrees of Gemini. Again, Gemini is the ruler of the mental realm, information, ideas, thoughts, perceptions, communications. This new moon solar eclipse, of course, new moons are about new beginnings. The eclipse intensifies this new beginnings. Gemini rules that mental realm, so it's new beginnings of how we think, new beginnings of how we perceive, new beginnings of how we communicate our thoughts and ideas with one another and out in the world. And this new moon solar eclipse is going to connect with Mercury, which actually rules the mental realm. And Mercury is currently at this point retrograde, so we're definitely reviewing and and we're trying to reassess and reevaluate certain situations and circumstances in our life during this time, especially because Mercury is still retrograde. This new moon solar eclipse also is in a challenging square aspect to Neptune. Now, Neptune rules the spiritual realms and unconditional love and compassion and forgiveness, but this is a challenging square aspect to this solar eclipse. So we have to look at some of the shadow qualities of Neptune, which is about illusion and confusion, delusion, things not making any sense, looking at things through rose-colored glasses. So because this is a Gemini new moon solar eclipse and it's challenging Neptune, I feel like there's going to be miscommunication, there's misunderstandings, we don't have all of the information. All the puzzle pieces aren't quite in place, so we have to wait for especially Mercury retrograde in his home sign of Gemini to turn back to direct motion later this month before things are sorted out and start to fall into place and start to make sense. So just know that this eclipse, of course, on the heels of that full moon lunar eclipse, which may cause some sudden endings and then hence new beginnings thereafter. And because this solar eclipse is in a challenging connection to Neptune, we might for a time be off balance. We might not be totally centered. We might be a little confused. There might be a lot of things going on. Gemini is very mutable and it's kind of scattered and all over the place. So there might be a lot of energies happening very fast or a lot of information coming at us quickly but not falling into place and making any sense. So just know that around that time that's kind of the energy that we're dealing with. Now we have on the 11th, the next day after that solar eclipse, Mars is leaving Cancer and moving into fire sign Leo. Now Mars is a fire planet about energy and action and forward movement. Leo is a fire sign, which is very inspirational and creative. So Mars moving into Leo is going to be comfortable there, or at least more comfortable than it was in Cancer. Now, Mars is going to be in Leo all the way until July 29th, so for a little over a month and a half, he's going to be there, which is going to speed up the energies a little bit. You know, Mars, that fire planet, while it was in Cancer for the last few weeks, and Cancer is a water sign, it kind of watered down the energies of Mars. But now that this fire planet is going into a fire sign, things might pick up speed a little bit. We might be able to move forward a little bit more quickly. However, remember that Mercury is still retrograde, so that's kind of throwing some kinks in things or slowing things down while we're waiting for information to come in or while we're waiting for messages to be more clear for us. But at least we have this initiation energy of forward movement and creative movement too. This is a very creative sort of energy. On the 20th of June, we have Jupiter, which is the planet that rules abundance, prosperity, and blessings. It's also the planet that rules our belief systems, is turning to retrograde motion at 2 degrees of Pisces. Now, it hasn't been in Pisces for all that long. You might remember a little ways back, a few weeks back, where Jupiter just went into Pisces, because Jupiter spends about a year in each sign of the zodiac. So we had just a little bit of a flavor here while it went from 0 to 1 to 2 degrees of Pisces, and now it's going to go retrograde. It will dip back into, at some point, it'll dip back into Aquarius for a little while this summer. Until it turns back to direct motion in mid-October, still in Aquarius, before it moves back into Pisces towards the very end of the year, for good, at least during this period of time, this 12-year cycle, basically. But Jupiter likes to expand the energies that it's in. So again, what is Pisces about? It's about unconditional love and compassion and spirituality and creative inspiration, forgiveness. But it's also about that elusiveness and sometimes that confusion and not being very focused or grounded. I say let's focus on the expansion into those positive qualities. Pisces also rules the spiritual realm and our psychic and healing capabilities, and just that idea of unconditional love and compassion and having a sense of acceptance and being tolerant of and accepting of other people and differences of opinions and whatnot. So I feel like Jupiter can expand into its most positive, into these wonderful qualities, but also we have to look at that shadow side of Pisces, and where Jupiter might expand some of those qualities of confusion or things being elusive, not within our grasp seemingly, or feeling like we're expanding into that illusion, what's really going on out there in the world. And one person might say one thing, or another group or another person might say something else. What's the truth of the matter, and can we really understand what that truth is all about? On the same day that Jupiter turns retrograde in Pisces, the sun is going to be moving into Cancer. So this is the time of the year that the sun moves from Gemini into Cancer. It will be in that sign of Cancer for the next month, which is typical. And again, that highlights or shines its light upon things that deal with home and family and our emotions and our emotional connections with other people, our empathic abilities, etc. Then on the 22nd, we have Mercury turning back to direct motion at 16 degrees of Gemini. Now, Mercury is still going to be in its shadow until about July 7th. So we're still going to be trying to fine-tune the information or gather all the details, making sense out of the messages, kind of letting things kind of fall into place from when it first went retrograde, and things might have been a little bit unclear. So it is turning direct, which is a good thing. Things can start to clear up on that level as far as our thoughts, ideas, perceptions, and communications. But it's going to take maybe until that first week of July until things are totally ironed out and totally falling into place and making more sense, and we have all the puzzle pieces and all the information in order to take advantage of that Mars in Leo and fully move forward. Then on the 24th, we have a full moon. Now, it's not an eclipse, but it is a full moon, so it does bring a completion energy, an energy of needing to heal on some level or let go on some level. It's at 3 degrees of Capricorn, and Capricorn deals with our goals. What are your goals? And I feel like, whatever our goals are, our ambitions, Capricorn deals with our sense of inner authority or authority figures or the authority parent in our life, which is usually the father, deals with our career, our life path, our destiny path. So whatever endings and new beginnings are going on from these eclipses that we had since about the middle of May with that first full moon lunar eclipse, perhaps there's some sort of now physical completion, tangible completion that's occurring on or around that full moon in Capricorn on the 24th. Then the next day, the 25th, we have Neptune turning retrograde at 23 degrees of Pisces. Neptune is in its home sign of Pisces. It stays in the sign of the zodiac for several years. So it's going to intensify as it's slowing down, or as it has been slowing down the past couple of weeks in Pisces, intensifying that Neptunian energy, the Neptunian feeling. So again, we might be feeling a lack of focus or not being fully grounded, feeling a little floaty, feeling a little scattered. But on the upside, we're feeling more connected to spirit, more connected to our angels and guides, more in tune with our higher soul self, more in tune with our psychic capabilities and abilities. But again, it can also intensify that illusion, confusion, delusion energy of Neptune as well. The other thing I think is interesting is that we talked about Jupiter turning retrograde on the 20th, and then we have Neptune turning retrograde on the 25th. Both of these planets are rulers of Pisces. Now, Neptune is an outer planet that was discovered more recently, so it is what's called the modern ruler of Pisces. But before Neptune was discovered as a planet, Jupiter was the ruler of Pisces. So Jupiter we call now the co-ruler of Pisces. So both of these planets are retrograde now, and they are kind of internalizing the energies, which is what a retrograde planet does. We're internalizing the energies. So we're using that Jupiter retrograde to understand internally our own belief systems, our own belief systems when it comes to our sense of spirituality, our own belief systems about unconditional love and compassion and forgiveness. You know, it's kind of helping us, so to speak, to bring those energies about within ourselves a little bit. And the same with Neptune. Neptune retrograde, we're internalizing that unconditional love, compassion, spiritual energy of Neptune within ourselves. And so I just find it interesting that they both, you know, rule Pisces in some sense, and they're both retrograde within just a few short days of one another. The last thing we're going to talk about is on the 26th of June, Venus now is moving out of Cancer. Remember, on the 2nd of June, she went into Cancer. Now she's moving out of Cancer and moving into Leo. So she's joining again her lover Mars, because Mars moved into Leo on the 11th. She's moving into Leo on the 26th, and she'll be there until July 21st. So Leo, well, I was going to say Leo, Venus is what I meant to say. Venus, again, relationships. Leo is expressive. So now she wants to be more expressive in her relationships, right? Leo likes to have fun. Leo likes to enjoy themselves. Leo also likes to be appreciated. Leo likes to be recognized. And so within relationships, she wants more recognition. She wants to be appreciated. She wants to have more fun in her relationships. In regards to money and finances, there's a creative expansion here. So there's a creative energy regarding how can I create more personal security, or how can I gain more personal resources, or how can I create a sense of even having fun with how I bring in finances and money. So all of that Leo energy is now centered around that area of relationships and personal resources, as well as self-worth too. Venus rules how she values herself and her sense of self-worthiness. And in Leo, she might shine a little brighter, feel a little bit more confident, because Leo is the lion, right? And so there's a sense of confidence there. All right, so that is the astrology, or the highlights, I should say. Let's go ahead and take a look at the messages from our angels and guides. And as I was shuffling, I did show you the card that vibrates numerologically to the month of June, which was that Divine Justice card. But before I pulled that out of the deck, in order to do this video, and I was simply shuffling the cards and asking what messages we all needed to hear as a collective for the month of June. Wouldn't you know, this was actually the first card that fell out, which I think is interesting, because I think for the month of June, when we did June's monthly intuitive reading and how June is related to the Wheel of Fortune card, I think also the Wheel of Fortune card came out in the monthly part of the reading, the monthly message part of the reading as well for last month. So I find it interesting that the Divine Justice card is also a part of the message for the collective for this month. So we already talked about this. Karmic rebalancing of the scales, right? New moon, solar eclipse, new beginnings. We have to realign ourselves with our spiritual truth. Now, our ego sometimes wants one thing, or we're kind of in a pattern, or we're in a comfort zone, but our true higher soul self knows where we need to be, what experiences we need to have next. And so we're allowing our spiritual self, our higher soul self, to help us to realign, karmically speaking, into where we need to go next in these next weeks or next months or even the next few years. And so there's divine justice at play here on a collective level, on a personal level, and this is what I'm talking about personally, but also on a collective level. Where are we as a collective? What's going on in the collective, right? I mean, we've definitely had quite a doozy of a year from 2020, which has continued into 2021. So there's now a rebalancing of the scales here. There's an ending on a collective level of the old ways that things have been operating, and the initiation or new birth, new beginning of a new way. Now again, it's, you know, slow and moving, but that's all about perspective. Someone else might say it's very quickly moving, it's very fast moving. You know, again, so it's all in divine timing, this divine justice that's taking place on a collective level. I feel like the blindfolded woman here, we don't see necessarily with our physical eyes everything that's really going on behind the scenes, so to speak. If you want to call it the powers that be, we don't know all of what's happening there. And a great majority of the collective of humanity, you know, really does not know what's been happening. And so it's a process of taking off that blindfold eventually. And these karmic scales of justice righting themselves for things to start to be made more available to the collective, to be made so that we're more aware of what's really happening. So at some point, I feel like there's going to be a reveal, like a revelation of what's been really happening, karmically speaking, with our planet and with humanity on that collective level. Let's take a look at the second card, though, as we move through this month of June. Okay, so the second card is the Ace of Orbs. This is like the Ace of Swords or the Ace of Air in the traditional tarot. The Ace is always about a new beginning. So again, interesting that we have that new moon solar eclipse, because that's heralding in an intensified and magnified new beginning on some level. Now the orbs, which is the suit of swords, is telling us it's on the mental level first, which again is interesting because the solar eclipse is in Gemini, which is a mental sign. It's an air sign. So it's a sign about our logic, our perceptions, our ideas, our thoughts, our belief systems, and how we communicate out in the world. So this fits right in with that new moon solar eclipse there. And, you know, we can almost see here, which is interesting, because you would think, you know, that we have this whale here in the water coming up to kind of play ball, so to speak here, right? To kind of grab that orb or touch that orb or move that orb. Water is emotions, and even though this is an air card, it deals with, again, our mental realm thoughts and ideas and perceptions. There's still an aspect of the emotions here wrapped up. I think, you know, we're all kind of emotionally connected to what's happening on our planet, to what's happening with each other. In fact, a lot of us are empathic to the point of feeling what's happening to the whole of humanity. When there's some big event, a lot of us empaths will feel in our emotional bodies that there's something happening. We might not know exactly what's happening, but we feel some sort of feelings. We feel the wave of the emotions rising within us, as this great whale, or maybe this is a dolphin. I can't really tell if it's a whale or a dolphin, but it's, you know, it's kind of raising the intensity of the emotions. And it's trying to connect or merge the feelings with the intellect, the emotions with the logic here in this particular rendition of this card. I'm looking at this and thinking, you know, at first I thought this was in the water, and I still think it is, but isn't it interesting how there almost looks to be stars around this orb too? It's like, you know, there's the emotional piece down here because it looks like water, but there's also this universal and spiritual piece because it looks like stars around this orb. And then the orb itself, of course, being the suit of air or intellect or logic, it's like we're seeing almost all of those different levels of the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual all wrapped up in one. And then our last card for the month here, okay, is the Eight of Flames, the Eight of Fire, which I find very interesting because flames is rods, wands, and again, it's fire. And this card from the traditional tarot is a card where it talks about things speeding up, things intensifying. There's a creative, inspirational, you know, kind of energy that's at play here. And this to me feels like Mars moving into fire sign Leo, where things again are going to move forward a little bit more quickly, a little bit faster. And then when Mercury retrograde turns back to direct motion, it can speed up even a little bit more. So I feel like there's a gradual increase to the speed at which events and situations are going to unfold for us, to which those changes and redirections that these eclipses are bringing in are going to, happen or unfold or take place. Now, it's interesting that here, we have almost a circle, so it kind of reminds me of the Wheel of Fortune. It's not the Wheel of Fortune, but it reminds me of that infinity, right? Endings, new beginnings, all wrapped up into one. It's kind of this infinite wheel, never-ending wheel or cycle of energy of those endings and new beginnings. And we're always in cycles, right? There's cycles in the seasons. There's cycles in a woman's body. There's, cycles in life. And so I feel like this, we're on this never-ending cycle of evolution and growth. And again, that involves endings and new beginnings. But, this again, the number 8 numerologically is about power, empowerment. And so I feel like we're more quickly now, again, as far as our soul evolution and growth with the fire, with the flames, that we're empowering ourselves even more quickly here, coming through the month of June and as we even move out of June and into the month of July. I feel like there's what do I want to say, like a speeded up kind of movement as far as all of us on a collective level, our soul's evolution and growth personally, the collective evolution and growth of humanity on a worldwide level. I feel like there's a speeding up of things. This can also be that there's a lot of things happening at once. Sometimes the 8 of Flames can bring chaotic energy, a lot of things happening at once, things coming from us to us from all directions. Again, fire, flames, that's unpredictable energy, right? So the flames can dance around and be creative and mesmerizing and bring that energy of forward movement, but it can also be a little bit hard to kind of understand where it's going or how to follow it, because it's dancing all around and it's, again, a little bit of that unpredictable sort of energy. But I think this is still good. I feel like, this is a definite indication. In fact, in the center of this circle, we see the sun. We see some dark clouds around it, indicating there might be some challenges through this month of June. But if we look for it, in the center there, we have the sun lighting our way, helping us feel more vital and alive and assisting us with creative growth or forward movement as we move through this cycle of energy here. So I also pulled a card, like I said, from my astrology deck for the collective because of the new moon solar eclipse, wanting to see what we needed to as a collective pay attention to and focus on. And interesting, again, we got the 3rd house and messages. You can see that at the bottom there. Now, the 3rd house is ruled by Gemini, which is where this new moon solar eclipse is, in the sign of Gemini. Gemini, 1, rules messages, right? All forms of information, communication, speaking, teaching, writing. And we have the Eye of Horus here at the top. We have a lot of Egyptian symbology in this card. So to me, I feel like there's ancient messages from our ancestors that are coming in, right? So look for messages to increase. And that could be messages from our ancient ancestors, could be messages from our angels and guides, could be messages from our other people, could be messages or information that we've been waiting to come in order to move forward, or it could be messages of guidance from our own higher soul self. So just know that there's a focus here on listening, seeing with your 3rd eye, maybe even feeling or just knowing, getting those flashes of insight, but especially I feel like with the clairvoyance and the clairaudience, seeing those messages, listening for those messages. And again, there's ancient wisdom here with that Eye of Horus. There's something from our ancient ancestors, maybe our Atlantean or Lemurian ancestors, our Egyptian ancestors for sure, because that's an Egyptian symbol. But we're tapping into some old energies that I think we're bringing forth in order to move forward as a collective here in how we as a collective are growing and evolving and moving through these times of change. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at your special message card depending on your stone of choice, everybody. All right, so I'm going to shuffle here. I guess I could put it up to the camera. I was shuffling off camera, but for those of you, I'm going to close my eyes here. Message for blue Scheelite people, those of you that chose the blue Scheelite as your stone of choice. Every once in a while I'm going to open my eyes and see if one pops out at me. Blue Scheelite, okay. Message for blue Scheelite people. This one is catching my eye. Come to the edge. Okay, come to the edge. I feel like, you know, if you look at the symbology here, it's like I feel like you need to maybe take a little bit of a risk, you know. It's like going to the edge here. You know, she's standing on the edge of this cliff, which seems to be just kind of hanging up there in the air by itself anyway. And she's getting really close to potentially falling off that edge. But as we get close to the edge, we have to have faith. We have to take a leap of faith. Sometimes we have to take a risk. We have to make a change. Now, she's doing it in a way where she feels very excited, very adventurous, very in tune with her own sense of balance and her own sense of adventure. So I feel like your angels and guides want you to move to the adventure, move towards the adventure, move towards the excitement, move towards the possibilities, move towards that creative energy within you. Look at that. She's like in a creative dance kind of energy. So move towards that creative dance in your life. And maybe take that risk, right? Get to the edge and take that risk. Jump off the edge. Know that you know you're going to be caught on the other side, that Spirit's got your back, that your angels and guides are going to guide you, catch you, direct you, assist you with whatever it is that you are going to the edge regarding. I feel like there's this kind of, again, this feeling of the inner child within this card too. You know, children don't think of, you know, typically they don't think about the fears, the anxieties, the what ifs, right? They just get excited. You know, they get excited for the adventure. They get excited to try new things, to do something fun. And so I feel like you have to embody that kind of inner child energy of just, again, trusting, you know, because children have that just innate sense of trust that everything's going to work out okay, everything's going to be fine. And so if you trust and have faith and you get into your creative inner child mode and you look for the adventure in life and you step off the cliff, so to speak, and have faith, I think that's the way for you to go here into this time of new beginnings for yourself. All right, for those of you that chose the Apophyllite, people that chose the Apophyllite, special message for Apophyllite people. You know, the one that's on my forefinger is kind of catching my attention, so we're going to pull that one out. Deep knowing, okay? So I feel like you know what needs to be done. You know what should be done as far as your movement forward. There's an owl here, right? And there's a moon here. There's actually another planet there too. I'm trying to figure out if that's, you know, one of our planets that's going retrograde. You know, is it Mars moving into Leo? But we definitely see the face of the moon here. So I feel like by the time we get to the full moon in Capricorn, what was that, on the 25th of the month? I feel like you'll know what to do. That's also right after Mercury goes direct, right? So you don't have to necessarily, unless you have to, you know, maybe hold off in making a final decision if you can until after that full moon on the 25th. All the way, though, all along, I feel like there's kind of an inner intuition that you have. Like there's an inner knowingness, an inner intuition, a connection to what feels like the right path, what feels like the right direction, what feels like the right decision. And you have the support here of the planetary energies. You might want to look at where some of these planets are falling in your chart. And if you don't know astrology yourself, maybe it's time to get an astrological reading from someone who can help you with, what's happening astrologically in your chart, that, those energies are trying to kind of assist or guide or support you. But that owl is about getting in touch with your inner higher soul self, your inner authority, your deep inner wisdom, and paying attention to that inner wisdom. Sometimes when I think of higher soul self and inner wisdom and the owl, I think sometimes we try to overanalyze something or be overly logical, right? Our ego mind wants to be logical, make sense out of something, when we just need to tap into and feel what feels right, the inner knowing, the inner intuition. That's what the owl is trying to teach us here. To be silent, to reflect, to connect to your inner guide, your inner self. More than your angels and guides even, connecting with your inner guide and your inner self, your higher self, is even more important. To feel what feels right. And then again, by that full moon, see where life is taking you. See if you can kind of intuit what that decision is for yourself. Okay. And then for those of you that chose the Septarian, that was the last one. So shuffling here a little bit. Septarian, special message. Special message for Septarian people. This one's sticking up. We have there and now. Well, isn't that interesting? What does that mean? There and now. And we have an egg, and I don't know if that's a fairy sitting on top of the egg. We have a doorway on the egg. I don't know what the egg stands for, at least not at this moment, but the doorway definitely stands for, to me, those old doors that are closing and new doors that are opening because of these eclipses, right? Full moon lunar eclipse, releasing, letting go, endings, completion. New moon solar eclipse, initiation, new beginnings, planting new seeds. So and you can see too, there's signs right here that say past, and I'm going to assume that one says future. Past and future, right? So the past is no longer, right? We can never go back to the past, but do you want to continue following the timeline of the past? And that might be regarding a situation or a relationship, but it could also just as well be the past as far as your belief systems, your perceptions, right? The old way of perceiving yourself or your life, the old way of how you believe about yourself or your life or what you can or cannot accomplish. It's time to close the door on the past, and it's time to move here to the now, be in the now, and move towards the future. Maybe that sign says now instead of future, but either way, if you are in the present moment and you know that the past is now behind you, the only thing you can do is look forward to the new doors that are opening for your future. And she almost has a red flag here, and all of a sudden I think about red flags, right? When you kind of say, okay, I don't want to say I give up, but it's like I surrender, and it's not in a negative way that you're surrendering, but you're surrendering the fact that you're going to just let go, and you're going to allow life to carry you into the new. You're going to allow the universe to redirect your life and realign your life into where you need to go next on your path, which is a good thing. Again, it's leading you towards growth and evolution. It's leading you towards more positive things. It's leading you towards your soul's inner truth. So if you just surrender and allow and then walk through the door, then everything is going to be just fine, okay? I know that's sometimes easier said than done, but everything is going to be just fine. You're being led in the right direction, okay? So thank you everyone for watching this monthly June intuitive reading. Thank you for sharing the video. Please subscribe to the channel if you want to know when the next videos are out. I do weekly and monthly, and sometimes other types of videos as well. Thank you for your comments, your support, your love, your assistance. I thank you all so much for kind of continuing this journey with me as I expand and grow, and you all expand and grow. So sending you many, many angel blessings in this month of June. Happy new moon solar eclipse. Happy new beginnings, and we will catch you on the next monthly and or weekly video. Namaste, everyone.